Welcome to the Nurse Life Coach Academy podcast, where Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, talk all about how to get certified and practice professionally as a nurse life coach.
All right, guys, welcome to the Nurse Life Coach Academy podcast. This episode is, so helpful. It's so helpful when you're new. It's so helpful when you're not new. I don't know why I haven't done it before. I think it's a genius idea, if I do say so myself, to do a podcast about this. But we're going to be talking about, why do our clients say, I don't know, when we ask them a question? From a sales perspective, would be more for the Successful Nurse Coaches brand, but why do clients say, I don't know, when we ask them if they want to coach with us? You know, we run into this a lot. What happens when we ask our kids why they did something and they say, I don't know? And then how do we, the mother, the coach, the business person, any role that we're in, how do we see that answer? How do we interact with that answer? And how much expertise do we have around that answer? And so this entire episode is going to dive into what to do when you're the coach. Thankfully, it bleeds into other areas of your life as well. When your partner says, I don't know, or when your kids say, I don't know, or when your best friend says, I don't know, or your coworkers say, I don't know. This will be helpful there as well. So I would love to start this with just exploring some of the reasons why somebody says, I don't know. And then I'll give examples of each one. So the first one, which I think that at surface level, people can jump to this conclusion, is people say, I don't know, because there's a genuine lack of knowledge. That's the most straightforward reason, is that they genuinely do not know the answer to a question, or they lack information on a particular topic. Now, in the context of life coaching, when a client says, I don't know, oftentimes their brain believes that they don't know. Like their conscious brain has a lack of an answer. It has a lack of information. And that lack of that inability to know is actually caused by the subconscious brain for many different reasons, because there needs to be an answer to the question, whatever the question is. There is an answer. We can agree on that. On most questions that we ask a human being about themselves, their lives, their desires, their wants, their needs, they're the only source of expertise. There's no book they could go find to find the answer. This is something that has to be found internally. And a lot of times people are disconnected from that internal knowing for multiple reasons. And so when they say, I don't know, they genuinely feel like they have a lack of information on themselves to answer. The next reason people say, I don't know, is because of uncertainty. And I think that most life coaching clients who say, I don't know, fall into this. So sometimes our clients might have partial information or unsure about the accuracy of their answer. So they say, I don't know, to avoid giving incorrect information. Or they have a lot of ideas, but they don't know they don't know what the best idea is. So they just say, I don't know, because they can't choose, because in their brain, they can't prioritize. So I'm going to go a little deeper into uncertainty. When we ask a life coaching client, what do you want? Or what do you most want to work on in this call? Sometimes they'll go into a freeze response. They'll literally not know. I've had this happen to me. And when you find yourself in that uncertainty or just not sure what the best right answer is, then I don't know is like a really easy cop-out. And as the coach, this is where we invite our clients to slow down. And maybe we say something like, that's okay. This is a really big question, and we're not in a rush. We get to spend time here. We can just explore together if that's okay. Even by saying something like that to somebody who's uncertain about an answer, you're basically letting them know that it's the exploration of the answer where the value is, that there's no wrong answer, that there's a path to get them to their right answer or their most right answer or their most important answer. And that you, the nurse life coach, are willing to ride shotgun with the client around that uncertainty. Now let's go back to the genuine lack of knowledge. If you said to somebody, I love this around health. I'm going to use a health example here. So a client who is having headaches all the time, and you say, what do you think the headaches are from? What do you think the cause is? Or tell me more about it. And that person could go on different avenues on what they think, but ultimately they don't know. And they may not know that headaches can come from stress, that headaches can come from trauma, that headaches can come from the way that they think, a habitual way of thinking. They can come from hidden stressors that are trying to work their way to the surface. Perhaps they have that lack of knowledge of that mind-body connection. And they're thinking about it's got to be water or caffeine, or my mom gets migraines, or this medication's not working, or my doctor said this. And then you, the nurse life coach, are saying, I want to dig a little deeper here. Did you know that headaches can be caused from fears or from being misaligned in your life, that they can be a somatic expression of something that's more mental, spiritual, or emotional? And some of our clients may not know that. That might not be a body of work that they've ever been exposed to. They may not believe in that. And so that could show up in a nurse life coach session, is just even introducing them to the possibility of another answer without answering it for them. And so using that headache example, I remember a client was getting a lot of headaches, and she had been going the medical route and the naturopathic route and the functional medicine route, and she just couldn't get to the bottom of it. She kind of explored all the physical stuff. And so I asked if she'd be willing to do just a guided visualization that would take 3 minutes. She said yes. And so I had her close her eyes, and let's say her name is Sally. All right, Sally, I want you to think about the moment that you first started getting these headaches. Go back to that time. What was happening then? Maybe even touching on the wheel of life. What was happening in your relationships, at work? Getting a feel for when it started. Bring Sally all the way through with different questions and visualizations up to the current moment. And then I said to Sally, okay, Sally, I want you to imagine that in front of you on the table are 3 teacups that are upside down in a row. And that for the sake of this, underneath one of those teacups is the answer to why, the cause of your headaches, and ultimately the way to heal. It's under one of those teacups. And I want you to imagine that the one on the far left is physical, and the one in the middle is mental, and the one on the right is spiritual. So the answer lies in one of those teacups, but we don't know which one it is. And I want you to imagine my hands reaching over to the table and moving all of those teacups around. And when I count to 3, I'm going to pick up one and turn it over. 1, 2, 3. I turn it over. Inside is the cause of your headaches. Which cup did I pick up? And Sally said, mental. And she was surprised. So we created an experience through a guided visualization to begin to point to her inner knowing of what the root cause was of these headaches. And for her, coming to me at the time, I was doing more health coaching. And this is when I really realized I wanted to be a life coach more than a health coach, because it wasn't in the physical for her, right? Like, she'd done all the physical, thousands and thousands of dollars and so many medications and blah, blah, blah. And just through that 3-minute guided visualization, she had an aha moment that there was something mental. There was something in her thoughts and in her, not in her head, like not made up, but an actual like force that was causing these headaches that we got to uncover. And so through a genuine lack of knowledge, we can also create experiences for the client to discover their inner knowledge that they already have about themselves. But because remember, the nurse life coach sees every human being as whole, healed, capable, full of possibility, and has all the answers inside of them. And that there's no place we have to grab from or take to get what we need. It's all inside. And we're just like spiritual partners helping them pull those answers out through the experience of being coached by us. So those are 2 examples, one of the genuine lack of knowledge and one around uncertainty. Here's another reason that coaching clients say, I don't know. A lot of times coaching clients will say, I don't know, because they're seeking validation from you, the coach. I've done this. Oh, I did this recently with my coach. And I just said, this coach's name was Leon. I said, Leon, I just don't know. I don't know why this particular situation is so difficult for me. And energetically, I was just really hoping that he would know and he could tell me and he could fill in the blank and solve the problem, give me the answer so that I can make the problem go away. And he challenged me and he said, okay, if you really don't know the answer to that, what would need to happen, or who would you need to be to know the answer to that? It's like even shifting your being, because I was seeking validation from him. I wanted him to solve the problem. I couldn't solve the problem myself. I probably didn't want to look at how simple it was. I wanted to make it more complicated. So a lot of times our clients will seek validation because they want the coach to tell them what to do. They want to be directed. I want to make this distinction here too. If you ask a client, what do you most want out of coaching? And they say, I don't know. And you immediately start going, well, do you want to like be healthier? Do you want to make more money? Do you want to have a better relationship? Do you want to have more sex? Do you want to be more well known in your community? Do you want to be a better mom? When we start just throwing answers out there, they are outsourcing their own inner knowing. And it just creates such a lower chance for them to have a powerful experience. So maybe if you're sensing that the client is seeking validation, you might say, it's okay if you don't know. These are big questions, but I'm going to sit here with you and hold space for you until we know, because I know somewhere inside of you, we have that answer that we can find. So softening them, letting them know that you're in there with them in this process, that there's no wrong answer, and that you'll think highly of them regardless of what their answer is, can be really helpful. All right, I'm going to use another example for this next one. This is so good. I'm going to use my son, EJ. I will say my son, EJ, is brilliant. He is super focused when he does things. He's absent-minded, and he has a difficult time. If I tell him, hey, get your shoes on, we're going to school, grab your lunch, grab your backpack, put it on the front porch. Once you do that, you can go outside and play or go to the animals. And he'll say, okay. And then, 15 minutes later, I come downstairs. I'm ready to go. He's got no shoes on. He's doing something that's not related to anything I had said. And I ask him, why didn't you put your shoes on? Why didn't you follow directions? And he says, I don't know. And his I don't know is really just avoiding responsibility. And that's a really cute example. And I don't think his brain knows, to be honest. He's 10. I'm not sure that his brain knows. And so in our household, we talk a lot about responsibility, that it is responsible that when asked to do something and you say yes, that you complete it. And in coaching, in life coaching especially, we're constantly asking people, how did your week go? What did you do? And did you hit your goal? Did you do this? And sometimes the client will say, I don't know. Or they'll say, I don't know at the beginning of every sentence. And it's as if the I don't know creates context that it's not clear. So there really can't be responsibility taken. A lot of times we say, I don't know, because we're avoiding taking responsibility for a situation or making a decision. So it's like to a life coaching client who really wants to get a raise at work, sitting in session saying, all right, Sally, we had talked about you having this difficult conversation with your boss. When do you want to have that? I don't know. I have a vacation coming up. I have this thing coming up. There's a lot going on at work. I don't know. When the question was when, the correct answer would be a time if you were taking full responsibility for that action. But I don't know is kind of just postponing having to make a decision. It's postponing having to take responsibility for a desire, a want, a need, a goal, an action. And for this situation with Sally of talking to her boss, self-doubt. So a lack of confidence that she'll be able to do this successfully, or a fear of how it's going to make her feel, or avoiding the discomfort of the conversation can keep her from taking that action. But instead of acknowledging, I'm really afraid that it's going to go south and I'm going to get fired and I'm going to lose my paycheck and that my husband's going to be angry and that my kids won't get a yearbook this year. Like that's probably more likely of what's going on in Sally's brain. But instead of that honesty, that transparency, that vulnerability, where we can actually do incredible work around it, it's more of like, I don't know, there's a lot going on. I don't think this week's the right week. Or it's this like lack of seizing the question. It's just a way to squirm out. It's a form of resistance to what the whole coaching conversation could be pointing towards. And then us, the nurse life coach, we have to really sit with what we think their I don't know is. What are we sensing that their I don't know is? And then we speak to that. Another reason clients say I don't know is politeness, that they don't want to offend somebody, or they want to be politically correct on a particular or sensitive topic, right? So let me give you an example of this. Hey, Sally, we've been coaching together for 6 months. I want to find out how you're feeling about the way that I'm coaching you. Do you feel like I'm pushing you enough? Do you feel like I'm challenging you enough? I don't know, Laura, XYZ. That's just a really reflexive answer. And that's a higher voice. I don't know. Because Sally doesn't want to hurt my feelings if Sally's been having thoughts. Also, buying time. Evan listens to my podcast, my husband. So I'm going to use you as an example, sweetheart. If I ask Evan about something, I'm going to give you an example. Do you want to go out to dinner tonight? I don't know. Do you want to go on the boat on Saturday morning? I don't know. And what that really means for him is I'm not certain and I don't want to make a decision right now. So I'm just going to say, I don't know. And I'll lovingly say, like, what more information do you need to know? Like, what else is missing for you to know the answer to that question? And we kind of giggle about it. So a lot of these things are like subconscious. We say, I don't know, because we're just buying time. I do this too. Evan's going to be saying he wants to come on the podcast and say all the ways that I do this, because I do this too. We're not exempt as nurse life coaches, but just being aware that sometimes there's these really reactive, reflexive, I don't knows that we throw out into the world, that we throw out to our coach, that we throw out to our clients. And it's not actually true. We're like using it in another way. This one's great. This next one's great. Let's say I have a client named Charles. Okay. And Charles has cheated on his wife. And I asked Charles, can I ask you a difficult question? Yes. Are you physically attracted to your wife? And he might say, I don't know, because it's a protective mechanism, because to truly answer that question would mean something. And so it's just easier to not have the actual answer to that question. And that's like a tough one, but I really wanted to drive home that point that a lot of times with more difficult questions that come up in coaching, I don't know is a protective mechanism. It's protective to avoid judgment from our coach. We don't want to be criticized. We don't want to be seen in a bad light. We don't want to create conflict in our relationships. So sometimes I don't know is really just protecting ourselves. And if that happens, that's okay. And so for Charles, I could say, I know that this is a really difficult question. And I'm only asking to find out more about the choices that led up to you being unfaithful, since you didn't want to be unfaithful. So we soften when we believe that the client is saying, I don't know, because they're protecting themselves. We soften and we stay with. We don't back off or let the story just be. We seek permission and we go in with softness. And perhaps we say something like, Charles, if you admitted that you're currently not physically attracted to your wife, what would that mean? What does your brain make that mean? Because here's the thing, physical attraction in a relationship can change for lots of reasons, for lack of intimacy, for resentment. It doesn't have to mean that you're a terrible husband, but society would say you would never say that. You don't say yes to these questions. There's these societal norms that we follow. And a lot of times I don't know will come in the face of those. Another reason somebody might say no to, or might say, I don't know. A client might say, I don't know, because it's a complex answer. It feels really complex. So let me give you an example of this. I'll say the client's name is Jane. Jane, for 6 months, you've worked with me as your coach, and we really wanted to work on slowing down and finding more peace. You wanted to be more present. That was our original goal. Do you feel like we've done that? And Jane's brain goes, I don't know, because it feels like a really, really complex answer. What we don't want to do as the nurse life coach is when the client says, I don't know, we don't want to take it at face value. We want to go deeper. We want to stay with it. We want to remind ourselves and remind our clients that there is an answer to this question. And maybe the answer isn't going to come today in today's session, but even just the acknowledgement that there is an answer to this, and we are on the path to discovering the answer to this question. And noticing where you think their I don't know falls, the type of I don't know that it is. Is it a genuine lack of knowledge? Is it that they're uncertain? Is it that they're seeking validation from you, the nurse life coach? Are they avoiding responsibility? Do they have self-doubt? Are they trying to be polite? Are they trying to deflect, protect themselves? Or is it just simply too complex? All of these are paths that we can take through our powerful questions when a client says, I don't know. Now, there are specific clients that they say, I don't know a lot. And I'm going to use just the archetype of the mom, the young mom, the mom who has kids 5 and under, who has been taking care of everybody else, running a household morning till night, sitting with a life coach in a powerful conversation. And the life coach says, I'll use the name Laura. We'll use me. Laura, what do you really want? You say that you are feeling lost, that you have nothing for yourself, that you're battling with some depression and anxiety. But if you could have anything that you wanted, what do you want? And Laura says, gosh, I don't know. I don't even know who I am anymore. Connected from self for so long that I'm not even sure what clothes I wear, what food I like, what I like to do in my free time, what my hobbies are, because I haven't even thought about it in 5 years. And so for that type of client, if your client fits into this archetype of just being really disconnected from self, there's so many beautiful tools of self-discovery, of coming home to self that are expansive, that are slow moving, that are creative, that are somatic, that are the answers in the slowing down and in the action of, with no pressure, no timeline. And for that particular I don't know, we really want to make space for the I don't know and honor the I don't know. And if you're unsure if your particular client in front of you fits into that archetype, ask some questions so that you can kind of get a picture. Another way to flip that too is when we really don't know who we are or what we want. It's kind of cool. Essentially, we're ripe for being created. We are a blank canvas. The chapter has ended. Our previous chapter of our identity, of our self-concept has ended. We are ripe for reimagining and recreating who we want to be and who we actually are. And that can be really fun. And there's lots of exercises that we can do that are fun. And so even a client that you're having a difficult time, like really drilling down and getting to the meat of the thing that they want, shifting the frame of saying that if you really truly don't know who you are, what you want, what you desire at this moment, then I want to really celebrate. We are a blank canvas, and you get to be here with me, your coach, and we get to reimagine all of it. And how exciting is that? Another thing that new nurse life coaches do around I don't knows is they can have this self-thought that I'm doing something wrong. I'm not asking powerful questions. I'm not doing it right. We're not getting anywhere. I suck. This is super normal when you're new. And so for those of you in our certification, for those of you in our mentorships, just in our community in general, if you get stuck, just call yourself out to the community and I guarantee you're going to feel better about it. And if you don't know what to do, there's someone in our community that has had a client that's been very similar that can share a story, that can give some context, that can make you feel so much better about your next session with your client. One of the beautiful things about building business in community and building your practice in community is that you have the expertise of so many people to draw from. So your client doesn't just get you alone in your home office or alone in your office in whatever town. They get a web of experienced and some non-experienced nurse coaches from all over the country. And that gives us confidence. We have a community. Obviously it's confidentiality. We don't share anything, any identifying factor with the client, but we can share the case study and get so many different points of view that we haven't thought of yet. This is how we become incredible coaches. All right, guys. So I was a little all over the place in this episode. I was really shocked at how many different reasons clients say, I don't know, and how many different ways and little paths that you take with your reasoning and questioning and curiosity like stems from what you perceive it to be. And if you're really unsure if someone says, I don't know, and you're not sure what category they fall into, I'll have notes in this episode that you can grab, but you could have these in front of you or have them part of your coaching binder. So you just have this as a resource. Say, can you give me one moment? Get your resource, get your binder out and say, when clients say, I don't know, it's usually for one of these like 5 or 6 reasons. And I'm curious if you want to explore those and try to find out what the next step would be. So if you really don't know, guys, that's what you can do. You can literally bring out what you're learning, read them, and then use that as a template to get through and around and learn more about the I don't know. And eventually your pattern recognition and your experience, you're going to sense it, feel it, experience your client. You're going to know what the I don't know comes from. And if you don't know, you just ask in the meantime. All right, guys. We'll see you in a few weeks for another Nurse Life Coach Academy podcast where we're just working on skills to make the most powerful nurse life coaches in the country. All right, guys. Bye.